Spoiler warning. I'll be talking about the 12th episode of AKEBI'S Sailor Uniform in this video. And if you haven't seen the episode yet, then I suggest you watch it first and then come back here. Okay? Okay. So we get to see students removing the signs as the athletic festival is over. We then see AKEBI in their classroom changing her clothes as we get shots of students running over to somewhere. It's a back and forth shot between AKEBI and where those students were heading, and we see those said students enter their gymnasium as the after party was starting. We go back to AKEBI one more time as she was finished dressing up, and we just see the determination she has in her eyes. The opening credits play one final time. After the credits were over, we are given a shot of who the winners are for the first years, but it doesn't tell us who. Then we move to the event as the announcers were about to introduce AKEBI and her performance to the audience. Usagi Haratoko then enters from the backstage to check up on AKEBI. She gave Usagi Haratoko her phone and the two chat a bit. She asks whether she's nervous or not, and AKEBI responds a little. After hearing that, Usagi Haratoko cheers her on by telling her, "You'll be fine. If anyone can do it, it's you. I'll be rooting for you too." And that was such a sweet scene, seeing Toko cheering AKEBI up as she was about to perform. As she walks into the stage, the crowd gives her a round of applause. We get to see all of AKEBI'S classmates present except for one. Hako Charashi, AKEBI'S club president, was in the far back to record Komichi AKEBI'S performance. The loud clapping from the audience were starting to fade as AKEBI couldn't hear anything. Someone then enters the stage and just a huge shocked reaction on AKEBI'S face to see Kizaki Erika walking towards the piano. She takes a look at AKEBI before we get a flashback as to how this was possible. Kizaki Erika and Usagi Haratoko went to AKEBI'S club president, Hako Charashi, to ask permission to perform on stage. Once everything was done, Kizaki Erika thanks Usagi Haratoko for lending her the CD and other things she has done for her. As AKEBI and Erika were getting ready, we get another flashback of Usagi Haratoko telling AKEBI about the song she's performing involving a piano accompaniment. And what if she does a live piano accompaniment at the after party, in which she replies she couldn't imagine doing something amazing as that. As we cut to the present with AKEBI telling herself that very same line, she couldn't even imagine it, as tears fall from her face. The music starts and AKEBI does her performance. The piano was just pleasing to listen to, and seeing AKEBI'S dance was just amazing. It was elegant, it was charming, it was beautiful. Ayumi Togiguchi then notices AKEBI'S dance steps as she realizes it were the steps she used when she was cheering them on their victorious game. Kei Tanigawa comments on AKEBI constantly running as she would always see her from the back. We then move to Kizaki Erika as she talks to herself, saying she's such an idiot because she won't be able to see AKEBI from where she was. As she then tells herself it'll be fine, she'll remember the moment. As we cut to Kizaki Erika and Ryona Shijo winning the tennis event, Komichi AKEBI and Kamimoko Neku were present to cheer them on. Kizaki Erika continues playing the piano with everything she had, as AKEBI did the same by performing with a smile on her face. Kamimoko Neku then says she too could stretch that high, as Kojo Tomono then replies she did spend all that time practicing with AKEBI. As we cut to their game, Kamimoko Neku wins the match as AKEBI and the others were there for them. We get a shot of Hotaru Hiraiwa and Oshizu Hebimori and see how their match went. She accidentally trips and falls, and the points go to their opponents, as they were left behind and eventually lost the match. Devastated from the loss, she cries as Hebimori tries to comfort her. AKEBI yelled out she doesn't have to cry to comfort her as well, as she says in her head after a match like that. As we move to the basketball event, Kei Tanigawa passes the ball to Hotaru Hiraiwa and she passes it to Mai Togano, and we just see her scoring in the ring, and it's such a nice moment right there just to see Mai Togano practicing from being unable to score a few episodes ago to actually getting the ball inside the ring. And we just see AKEBI'S huge smile on her face as Hotaru Hiraiwa and Mai Togano had a smile on their faces as well. Komichi Akebi, Kei Tanigawa, Kami Mokoneku, and Yasuko Nawashiro were cheering as one by one they said how much Akebi was cheering for them. And we just get multiple shots of all her classmates, and just everyone saying it's their turn to support Akebi was just incredibly so wholesome. My heart skipped a beat on this very moment here. She continues her dance as she really enjoyed it. The animation was just spectacular, her eyes were shining, her movements were fluid, and she even does the lip balm move she did in episode 2, at least her own version of it. And that was pretty cute to see as other girls in the audience knew what move she just did. Everyone was just at awe watching Akebi perform on stage as she could hear their cheering. We move to Riri Minakami viewing the performance as we get to know how their swimming match went. Okuma Minoru went first, then Ai Tatsumori. Riri Minakami told Akebi it was alright for her no matter what place she's in. Akebi responds by thanking her for the concern and tells her she's going to go out there and work up a sweat like a boss. Riri Minakami agrees and sends her off with a smile, and here we see Akebi doing her best as always as everyone was cheering around her. I really love how Kizaki Erika's cheer was more louder than the two. That was just pretty sweet. Once Akebi made it, it was Riri Minakami's turn, and after seeing Akebi do her best, made her want to do hers as well. Everyone cheered for Riri Minakami, and with doing everything she could, they won. Kei Tanigawa took a photo with all of them in the water. As we cut back to Akebi performing, while talking to herself saying she couldn't have done those things on her own, and that she wasn't alone. As we get to see Riri Minakami smile. Kizaki Erika then says to herself as she was playing passionately that every time Akebi would just surprise her from the very moment they first met. As we get a flashback of Kizaki Erika stating the song switches from piano to violin at the end. After hearing that, she had a wonderful idea. We switch back to Kizaki Erika playing as she notices right next to her Usagihara Toko holding a violin. Another callback to episode 6 where Kizaki Erika showed us that she's also good with playing the violin as she has been playing it for her entire life. As she gives out a thank you, the music stops as Akebi took one glance and she was ready to continue playing. As soon as she starts, everyone in the audience was just astonished at Kizaki Erika playing, as Usagihara Toko left with a smile on her face. Komichi Akebi continues her dance, and Kizaki Erika says to herself that the only reason she was able to enjoy playing again was because of Komichi Akebi. The music from piano turning into violin was just breathtaking. Akebi's dance was just graceful from start to finish. But it's not over yet. We get a flashback from their volleyball match and it was the final round. Everyone was doing their best, and as Akebi wasn't able to receive the ball, she was told by Hitomi Washio on what a wonderful dive that was, and told the others to keep their spirits up, same with Komichi Akebi. And they all did their best to try and win the game, but at the same time had fun. We cut back to the same team watching Akebi perform on stage. Hitomi Washio, Yasuko Nawashiro, Ryona Shijo, Usagihara Toko, and Riri Minakami. Back to the match, we see them all huddled up and preparing for their final set, and everyone was doing their best. As the ball was heading towards Usagihara Toko, it bounces off her head and the match continued. As Akebi caught the ball on time, she rolls into the floor and bumps into the stage. But the match didn't stop from there. The game was still continuing. As Hitomi Washio saw Akebi slowly getting back up, despite her injury just a moment ago, she yelled out her name as she passes the ball for her to end the match with her. Side by side as well, we see the moment Akebi winning the match and doing the flips on her performance as she tells herself there's no way she was gonna mess it up because she was able to do that, which was the last shot that led them to victory. As she reaches high and smashes the ball, everybody cheered while we get a shot of her in the air while Kizaki Erika was just amazed. That was a really cool transition as well as she gets back down. Everybody then gave Akebi a hug as they won. Kizaki Erika then ends the song as Akebi bows down to her audience. Everyone enjoyed the show and Kizaki Erika bowed as well. We then get a shot of both of them performing passionately. She thanks her as she lends out her hand and the two bow together. As we then see their blackboard as it was written on it that Class 1-3 were the winners for the athletic festival, which is Akebi's classroom. It was just lovely seeing everyone so happy for them. Also seeing Ai Tatsumori crying in the side was pretty cute. Afterwards, we flash forward to Akebi waking up from her bed with her hair messy and the sun shining. Kao wakes her up to tell her breakfast is ready and she replies she'll be down there soon with a cute voice. Her father, mother, and Kao were eating breakfast as Akebi's hair was still messy. She prepares to head for school by washing her face and acts all cute. Once she was ready for school, her father offers her a ride to the school as she tells him she's used to running. Kao fixes up her collar and off she goes. As she was running, she gets greeted by Taira-san. She then continues running towards her school as we get a shot by shot of her in different places until she arrived at the entrance. Once she enters the classroom, Kizaki Erika was the only one there. Looking at the window, she turns around and tells Akebi she was waiting for her. And that was just really sweet. The two sat down on their chairs and talk about whether they could do something like that again, in which Kizaki Erika responds, "Sure we will, lots of times." Afterwards, we see someone enter the room and we move back to Komichi Akebi greeting them good morning, as the episode ends with the continuation of the opening song, plus scenes and moments of previous episodes. Now if I were to rate this anime, not this episode since it's already complete, I would give this an absolute 10 out of 10 and a must watch if you're searching for something wholesome and just chill episodes. Now what a ride it has been. I have been watching AKEBI'S Sailor Uniform weekly since it first aired, and I even remembered making a reaction video on it 3 months ago. Everything about this show was just attractive. The colors, the animation just looks beautiful. There were wholesome and adorable episodes, there were chill and even gorgeous ones. Some had some concerning challenges and it would sometimes make my heart skip a beat, whether it be spending time with friends, or the episode itself was just Yuri moments, and I love that. Just seeing Akebi's pure smile was already enough for me. Each episode has a different story and character to follow, yet it would try to give us small hints of something bigger happening. Like Kizaki Erika being good at the violin and playing the piano, which led to the very moment of this final episode for her to be playing next to Akebi. Each character had their own personality and trait that it was so cute learning every one of them through Akebi's eyes. We sometimes branch off from Akebi and see the respected character do their own things. We learn about what they love to do and what they see towards Akebi, and that was always interesting for me. Akebi has either helped them in the past or have helped them realize something that they love doing that said thing in the present. Just seeing how much of a presence Akebi was to her classmates was just adorable to see, repaying what Komichi Akebi has been doing for them, and just seeing her enjoying her high school life with her friends was just really wholesome. I really love its continuity in the story and small details, like for example, in this episode before we start, we get to see a sign that says the winners are, and that's it. And once Akebi and Kizaki Erika's performance were done, we get a shot of their blackboard as it says Class 1-3 were the winners. I just thought it was a cool detail. And by the way, they ended this episode really amazing, as they ended it the same way episode 1 did, with Akebi greeting someone entering the room as she was talking with Kizaki Erika. And the flip Akebi does during her performance is the very exact same flip she did in episode 1. There are more small details in previous episodes as well, which proves how much effort they really put into this show. The show itself really is a slice of life anime, and I'm glad it stayed that way. It was such an amazing ride that for me, This is the best slice of life that I won't ever forget. Thank you, Cloverworks and staff who made this anime into my personal show of a masterpiece. It's really such an amazing show that I would love to rewatch sometime in the future. And that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that reaction or review, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. See ya!